morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to welcome you to this session this morning, the bilateral simulations. And I'm here with my colleagues, my senior colleague. I call him GK, or PS, or Mwalim, or even Professor. Yeah? You know him as your lecturer for economics, I'm sure. You're able lecturer in economics. And we have a colleague of mine also, Winnie Rugut. Winnie Rugut, you may not have met her in any of your classes. Have you taught? I don't think so. She joined us not too long ago. We also have another colleague who will be joining us later, and many other colleagues will be joining us as the day goes by. I know we are running late, and technically we are supposed to have finished with the senior officials meeting and have had tea at 10 so that we begin the bilaterals, the first being the Kenya-Nigeria bilateral talks. But since tea is not ready, I was suggesting we begin with the first session, Kenya-Nigeria bilateral discussions or negotiations or talks on enhancement of bilateral ties. Now, I do not want to teleguide you. I want to imagine that you have done enough background research and you have everything at your fingertips. So ours will be mainly observing. We shall make comments or remarks at the end of the session tomorrow. Yeah? And I think with those few remarks, I'll invite my senior colleague, Mr. Ikiara, to welcome you also. Thank you.
Good morning. Okay, on behalf of the Institute, the director and myself, and the rest of the staff, may I welcome all the delegates who are attending these two-day, very, very important meetings. Every year we hold these simulation exercises. You know, often for your 2 years, you spend most of the time listening to our lectures, telling you things theoretically, empirically, that kind of thing. But this one is a real session of what you'll be doing. Those of you who are going to join diplomatic service in various capacities. This is a replica, or it's supposed to be a replica of actually things that are going to happen. Today, Nairobi is hosting a very, very important meeting on WTO. We were not able to get some of you to go there and observe very important multilateral meetings, which is the first one to be held in Africa. That's a WTO meeting. Now, in that meeting, people are sitting like we're doing, negotiating various things on various issues, whether it is on agriculture or on manufacturing or whatever it is, various issues. So, therefore, the importance of this meeting today is basically to give you a taste of what happens. It's a very important session, and that's why we actually offer certificates of participation, because we regard this as a very important exercise. So all those who will be attending for the 2 days will be rewarded with a well-done certificates that can show you that you participated in our simulation exercise for the 2015 year. And so I encourage you to put all your energy and your thoughts on this, that you come with very, very important ideas, real issues. If it is Nigeria and Kenyan bilaterals, we would want you to really be tackling real issues between Kenya and Nigeria. If it's on multilateral issue, we want you to understand the topic very well and bring it on the table, and also exhibit the methodology that you've been able to run on how to carry out some of these negotiations. So ours will be here as observers, and we want to wish you all the best. We have invited some guests who will be coming to grace the occasion as we start the bilateral, and therefore we hope that you will be at your best as delegates from various places. So wish you all the best and have 2 days of fruitful negotiations. Thank you very much.
I think I want to now ask the delegations to begin the negotiations. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those remarks. My name is Michael Macharia, the Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation for Kenya. I'm also dabbling as the chairman for this session. And before we start our talks, I'd like to just clarify a few things. And the first thing is that the delegates are free to raise points of order during the debate. And then each of us as a delegate will have a minimum of 2 minutes. Minimum. Okay, sorry, a maximum. Let me put it on the maximum. And then at the same time, any representative may move a motion to close the debate if an item has been substantially discussed. Equally important is that a representative can move a motion to suspend or adjourn the debate in which another can object. We may have procedural motions in this order of precedence. 1, to suspend the meeting. 2, to adjourn the meeting. 3, to suspend the debate. And 4, to adjourn the debate. Finally, to close the debate. Other decisions will be made by concession. Having laid down the framework in which we are going to have our discussions, may I take this opportunity now to introduce, as the head of delegation for Kenya, introduce my team. On my immediate right is Nancy Okal. She is the Minister for Trade and Commerce. On her right is the Minister for Internal Affairs and Security, Mr. Bernard Leitich. On my further right is Mr. Solomon Macharia, the head of the Minister for Education. On my left, we have Mr. Peter Jeroge. He is the Minister for Energy. On the immediate left of Mr. Jeroge is Ms. Anne Joge, the Minister for Immigration and Refugee Affairs. We also have Minister Nairaba Solopian. She is the Minister for Environment. And the final and the last one is Minister for Transport and Communication. This is Ms. Velda Kimawach. I now take this opportunity to welcome the head of delegation from Nigeria to introduce her team. Welcome, Minister.
Okay, thank you. My name is Linda Koskei, the Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation for Nigeria. I'd like to introduce my delegation. To my right is Helen Gakuya, the Minister for Energy. Next is Ali Osman, the Minister for Environment. We also have Josephat Nyamache, the Minister for Immigration and Refugee Affairs. And Nicholas Ndwati, the Minister for Transport and Communications. To my left is Dorothy Njagi, the Minister for Trade and Commerce, followed by Haron Wamoto, the Minister for Internal Affairs and Security, and Lucy Njuguna, the Minister for Education.
Thank you very much. We hold our talks today to strengthen the bilateral ties between the government of Kenya and the government of Nigeria. The government of Kenya welcomes the representatives of the government of Nigeria to Kenya for these very important talks on the strengthening of bilateral ties between our two countries. Kenya and Nigeria enjoy cordial relations, and this can only get better with the strengthening of our bilateral cooperation. It is imperative upon us to strengthen our ties by increasing areas of cooperation that would be beneficial to the citizens of our two countries. Kenya's trade with Nigeria is still minimal, with the official figures indicating that exports have fallen from a peak of 3.2 billion shillings recorded in 2008 to 2.9 billion shillings last year. Over the same period, imports from the Western African nation has dropped from 169.8 million shillings to just 48.6 million last year. There is need for us to address those impediments to trade, be they tariff and non-tariff barriers that contribute to the declining trade between the two states. Strong trade ties between Kenya and Nigeria have proved that African countries have the capacity to work together for the benefit of the people of the continent. In 2014, Kenya's exports to Nigeria were valued at about 2.4 billion shillings, while the value of imports stood at 698.2 million. Nigeria, like Kenya, faces security problems as a result, rising from fundamentalism from such groups as Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab, respectively. Security of our citizens and visitors is paramount, and we cannot allow intolerance in whichever form threaten the security of our people. There is an area we can work together on these threats. We also play leading roles in our regions in terms of military presence and in peacekeeping missions. Kenya has recently discovered oil and gas, the black gold of Africa. Nigeria, with its long experience and expertise in the oil and gas industry, can assist us in learning the science and art of the oil industry and train some of our people in that area through technology transform. The world has recently achieved a great milestone in passing binding resolutions in the Conference of Parties 21 held in Paris that will help mitigate the problems of climate change and improve global environmental governance. Greatest challenge is the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions as our economies record growth. Cooperation on this issue can be harnessed so that our countries reap benefits from emissions trading and in reduction of greenhouse gases emissions. This also calls for closer cooperation in the management of our natural resources as well as for proper management of the environment. As countries that enjoy geostrategic positions in Africa due to their access to the coast, we stand a great chance of ensuring our countries benefit and improve our port services, and this requires improved collaboration in this area. We also hope to facilitate the ease of travel for our citizens and promote tourism by making visa applications easy and timely, promote education exchange programs aimed at helping our youth learn from their counterparts in their two countries. We also acknowledge the great success recorded by Nigeria in the arts industry, especially the film industry. As a country, Kenya is not there, but we hope that with your assistance, by establishing or collaborating with the existing schools of art and filming, we will be there. With these few highlights, I humbly welcome you to these talks that we hope will strengthen cooperation between our two countries. Welcome. It's now my humble duty to welcome the Minister for Trade to highlight the issues that we need to discuss today. Welcome, Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Macharia. Today we are here, the sole objective of improving bilateral ties, especially in the trade front between Kenya and Nigeria. And we've been working together, as my colleague has said, that the number of imports have dropped over the years. And I believe today we can make proposals and negotiate on how to improve imports and even exports. That's between the two countries. Our objective is to, of course, increase inter-Africa trade that will speed up the continent's economic growth. So the first thing I would love to discuss is about the trade barriers, that is the tariff and non-tariff barriers. I believe there's still room for improvement on eliminating both tariff and non-tariff barriers. To start with the non-tariff barrier, I believe we can improve on infrastructure. We all know that infrastructure is very important in facilitating trade between the two countries. One of the methodologies that we propose as a country is by maybe improving the number of flights to Nigeria. We know that we have a very strong airline here in Kenya, Kenya Airways. We could improve the number of flights so that trade is facilitated more. And then also standardization of imports and also exports. Kenya, we are strong in coffee. We are also strong in, we produce tea. What we can do, what we propose to do is we don't have so much high standards set by your country. The rules can be reviewed so that the standards are not that stringent, so that it doesn't become a very serious non-tariff barrier. And then also there has been the problem of African countries exporting goods in raw form. And I believe Nigeria and Kenya can put together energies to improve technology that would see us export goods that are manufactured already and are complete. Not just that deal now goes beyond Nigeria and Kenya, but the exports that we do to other countries. We do export coffee, we do export tea, and most of the times Kenya exports it in raw form. So we can work on ways of improving technology so that these goods are exported in a manufactured form. Another area of cooperation that I think these two great countries can work on well is the area of film, culture, and arts. We know that Nigeria is very strong on this area, and the world as it is right now, we are seeing so much exchange of culture. Pop culture is very strong around the world. So Nigeria and Kenya, why don't we form a synergy? Nigeria is strong in arts and culture. Maybe you guys can establish a training academy in Kenya where you guys have established yourself in the film industry. You can transfer the same to Kenya so that we propel the African culture so much so that we can also diffuse it the way the pop culture is already being diffused in the globe. And I think that is something that can be worked on. We also propose the formation of a joint business council between Kenya and Nigeria. Kenya is very strong in public-private partnership. and it's working well for us. And we propose the formation of a joint business council between the two countries so that regular meetings can be held to discuss business between the two countries and how we can also work together. And finally, we encourage Nigeria to bring in more investors in Kenya. Kenya, we passed a new constitution in 2010, as you know, and we guarantee a stable political environment right now for doing business. And so we are also working to come up with policies that will enhance ease of doing business in the country. Through the government of Uhuru Kenyatta, we have established Huduma centers whereby the process of initiating business has been eased. And so therefore, I think we would encourage you to bring in more investors to the country to strengthen the ties between the two countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Okal, for that presentation. It's now my humble duty to welcome the Foreign Affairs Minister for Nigeria to set the agenda rolling. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you to my host, the Kenyan host. From our end, he has already highlighted most of the areas of cooperation, and I'll just highlight a few areas. Under the Foreign Affairs International Cooperation, we'd like to propose a visa exemption for diplomatic passport holders, as well as mutual cooperation between the Foreign Service Institute of Kenya and the Foreign Service Academy of Nigeria for capacity building programs. For internal affairs and security, we'd like to propose a working partnership in dealing with militia groups that are such as the Boko Haram. Our team can train at the Kenya Military Academy and also gain knowledge from the various defense training institutions in Kenya. Under trade and commerce, we'd like to explore matters of tourism, trade and investment, agreements on double taxation, agriculture, livestock and fisheries, as well as curbing of illicit trade on contraband goods. Under the energy sector, we're looking at technical cooperation in oil and gas exploration, and the energy minister is going to delve more into that. For immigration and refugee affairs, we are proposing, we have a proposal on working permits for Nigerians in Kenya so that we can further our bilateral ties. Under the transport and communications, we are also looking at proposing for Kenya to ease the visa application process so that it's easier and timely. And under the communications, we have a proposal for boosting the film industry in Kenya by setting up an academy for film and media training. I'd like to invite the Minister of Trade and Commerce to highlight the trade and commerce issues.
Good morning, and thank you so much for this opportunity. As we sit here today, I see a lot of opportunities from Kenya, considering that Kenya is East Africa's powerhouse in terms of trade. And this gives Nigeria a good trading opportunity within Kenya, because this will also help us tap into the entire East African community. As you all know, Nigeria is very rich in resources, and in Africa, we happen to be the major producers of oil and gas. And just like the Minister of Trade and Commerce from Kenya highlighted, I think this would form a very good cooperation platform, whereby if we manage to improve our technology, then we can be able to refine the oil and gas and get a leeway through Kenya to do our exports. My counterpart from the Kenyan delegation has also noted about the cooperation in the film and music industry, which Nigeria happens to be very strong in. And I would really appreciate if maybe we set up these training schools of film and art academies in Kenya so that we can form a strong cooperation with the Kenyan team, that is Nollywood and Riverwood, and we can come up with films that are, rich enough so that we can do away with all these Western movies and come up with our own movies here in Kenya, in Nigeria, between Nigeria and Kenya. And this needs a lot of training. She also commented about the infrastructure. And I note that Kenya is doing very well in trying to connect the East Africa community. You have come up with the standard gauge railway, which is undergoing development, and also the LAPSOT project. So this is a good opportunity for us. If we are able to establish markets in Kenya, then this would be the infrastructural platforms that will help us to also manage to overcome the non-tariff barriers. I would want to bring in the issue of free market economy, which Nigeria is very strong in. And the government has recently put in place policies and programs that guarantee a free economy. And like we got the request from Kenya that they would want us to work on a collaboration whereby we standardize imports and exports, then this gives you a very strong base, because Nigeria has a population of 130 million people at the moment. So that would be a good opportunity for Kenya to gain a free market economy from Nigeria. Maybe I would also want to comment about the a joint business council, whereby we are going to have technocrats come together on a regular basis to promote regular interactions and strengthen the private public partnerships between Kenya and Nigeria. I know Kenya is very good with promoting the private-public partnerships. With those few remarks, maybe finally, I would want us also to develop a strong financial sector where the investors will have an easy access to working capital and other credit facilities. And maybe we can borrow ideas from the Kenyan delegation, where they have a very strong bank, the Equity Bank, which is the fastest growing bank in East Africa. And maybe we can welcome maybe the administration from Equity Bank to come and establish the same bank in Kenya, because also in Nigeria, sorry, because we are benefiting from Kenyan banks because we have not been able to benefit from Kenyan banks, like Kenya is benefiting from United Bank of Africa, which is a Nigerian bank, and this will boost the small and medium enterprises through facilitation of financial institutions and recognition. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity for Kenya to give to propose his issues. Welcome, Minister.
Good morning, everyone. And again, once again, I just want to welcome you to Kenya. This is the best place to be in Africa.